Okay, this is the third video, and we're going to be talking about Islam today. And I have on my computer some images that we think of when we think of the Islamic religion. Behind this person here praying, we see a mosque, and we can recognize it by the towers and by the domes and all of the architecture for mosques. It's very important that they have these two elements, also a courtyard inside. That way they can recognize their places of worship. It's very important to them that they are set apart, that they are unique. Here we see a woman, a woman who lives in the United States, who is wearing a head covering. These are called hijabs, and it's a hijab. I think I say that right. and we also maybe think of the women in this. Now this is a full covering called a burqa. And so they are different. Why do women wear these things? There are many reasons. First of all, modesty. And actually the Quran, their holy book, spells out the importance of modesty. Certain parts of the body for men and women must be covered. Also, it must be loose. The fabric must be of certain thickness. Also, it can't be flashy. Many people believe that this is oppression toward women, but if you ask many of the women, they say that it is their choice, freedom of religion, that they want to follow, their holy book. It's also submission to God. It represents submission to God. Traditional male. Okay, so this is a man, he's praying, and this is how they pray. They would carry a mat with them. They have to pray 45 times a day, and they face Mecca, which is a city where they are to do a pilgrimage. It's one of their five pillars, that they should visit Mecca someday, taking a pilgrimage there. Maybe some of us, when we think of the Islamic religion, we think of radical Islam, which is, of course, just one sect of this religion. Not all Muslims, of course, are violent, but this is a sect that was, and Saddam Hussein, and this is Osama bin Laden, and of course, we heard about them during 9/11. Okay, so we're going to now get into our text on this religion, and it is actually the fastest growing religion in the world. In 1960, the number of Muslims in the world has tripled, mostly due to population growth in Islamic countries around the world. Muslims have more children than any other religion, which is one reason why it's growing so fast. And then also because they have so many children, they are the youngest religion. There's the average age is 24 years old. And so that shows that it's probably going to continue to grow because it is a very young religion. Okay, Muslims refer to God as Allah, and they believe that there's no other God besides Allah. They believe that Muhammad, who is the founder of their religion, was Allah's prophet. So who is Muhammad? The central prophet of the Muslim faith was born in 570 in Mecca, which is present-day Saudi Arabia. He was very poor and was orphaned at age 6. As he grew older, he withdrew from crowds in the idol worship common in Mecca to a small cave where he would meditate. Muhammad claimed that when he was 40 years old, he was in a cave and Allah called his name and spoke to him. He is believed to have continued receiving revelations throughout the rest of his life, and he wrote the text today known as the Quran. At first, Muhammad's revelations did not receive a warm reception in Mecca. And so he was actually driven out of Mecca to a nearby city, Medina. And there, Muhammad and Islam, and so several years later, Muhammad returned to Mecca because there are people who accepted him. And they actually conquered the city, and he became the leader. So most of the Meccans at this time became Muslims, and over the next several years, Islam spread until the kingdom was larger than the Roman Empire. So this is something that is debated, and Islamic people will tell you, lots of them will tell you that it is not a religion based on violence, but really, in essence, it is, because he kind of came back to Mecca and conquered it for revenge, because the people did not accept his teachings, and then the people were forced to serve, under him, to worship according to the Quran. Okay, so Muslims do believe that Jesus was born of a Virgin Mary. In fact, in Islam, Jesus is referred to Mary as Mary's son. They believe that he performed many great miracles, such as giving sight to the blind and healing the sick. However, Muslims believe that Jesus did not actually die when he was crucified. They believe that it only appeared as if he died, and when, in fact, Allah had already taken his spirit up to heaven before he was killed. So just a little twist on the crucifixion. The critical difference, though, is this. Islam teaches that Jesus was one of the greatest prophets that ever lived, but he was not actually God. Okay, so the 5 pillars. This is what the foundation of their faith is based upon. The first is Shahada, or confession of faith. So their confession would be there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet. The second is prayer. They must pray in submission 5 times a day before sunrise, between midday and afternoon, in the afternoon, immediately after sunset, and between the time twilight is over and just before dawn. The other pillars of worship include giving money, fasting from sunrise to sunset during Ramadan, which is their the holy holiday, and taking a pilgrimage to Mecca. Observing these pillars perfectly and with the right attitude is the key to afterlife in heaven with Allah. So, heaven or hell. To reach heaven, a person must resist Satan and perform all the central obligations of worship, the 5 pillars, in an attitude of total surrender to Allah. Those who don't meet the requirements go to hell, a place of eternal torture. So, perfection versus grace. The word Islam actually means submission in Arabic, and this requirement of complete submission and perfection in performing the obligations of worship is the key difference between Islam and Christianity. So there is this idea of perfection and works, and think about it. Like, what if you don't have the money? If you're born here, but there's lots of this is a growing religion in the United States. Well, what if you don't have the money to make the pilgrimage over to Saudi Arabia? Then you don't even get to go to heaven. Like, it's one of the 5 pillars. So pretty interesting. All right, and so here is that last page with the worldview and how they see God, Jesus, the world, human beings, sin, the afterlife. And so you can look on this page to finish this part of the assessment. Okay, thank you.